Hey guys, I think we're back. I was going to try and start from the top so this video would be all seamless and pretty, but honestly, I'm just here to help you guys out. So I'm going to slow down a little bit. I was trying to blitz through this this presentation, mostly so it was watchable for people in the future who can't interact live, but you know what? That's part of being here live is you get to interact live. So our TA, Gabriella, can you hear me? She was texting me while it was down, and she said she has a question. Do you have a question? I don't even see it. Let me look. Let me refresh. Let's see if we're live. If we're live for realsies. Okay, that looks to be live. Whoa. Volume, pause it. I'm such a spaz. Turn it off. Okay. You're in. Here, Gabriella, just text me the question because I don't see it on the thing. So when I see that come through, I'll answer her question. Gabriella also is our awesome TA. For those of you who don't know, super appreciative that she's stuck around with me for the last couple of years, answering our questions in Udemy, answering our questions in the membership area. Thank you for all you do, Gabriella. Let's see what she says. She has a question. I can see she's typing it right now. So while she's asking that, I was talking about how I chose my freelance salary. So let me see if I can switch screens now without it totally on me. All right. So what I would do right now these days, I would just Google freelance salary calculator. Okay. There's like pages and pages and pages because this is a question that literally everybody asks when they get into this. So don't feel a couple things. Don't feel like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing yet. Don't worry about it. Nobody does. Everybody's making it up. Also, everybody's making it up. Like there is no right or wrong way. You just got to dive in and do it and try it. So Google freelance salary calculator. You're going to find all kinds of stuff. You're going to find an infographic on how to figure out your hourly rate. Things to consider: your internet, your laptop every 2 years. Definitely make sure you spend time or budget for upgrades for your phone, for the software, for everything that goes into it. Here's a good example. I just Googled and found this. Let's see other things you might not want to consider. You might want to consider. I don't know. The point is, there's a lot of really great resources that will help you. And I'm here to help you too. I totally don't mind. And I'll just tell you guys right now, I charge $85 an hour for our current clients. And for new clients, I charge $125 an hour. And both of those numbers are kind of made up. I'm not going to lie. I'm just going to tell you guys as my inner circle people that those numbers account for me paying taxes, for me upgrading my software, for me upgrading my computers and my gear, for the time it takes to do the things I need to do with excellence, and then as well as just the perceived value. So for a really long time, making sure I'm still live here, for a really long time, I think we were at like 60 an hour, 65 an hour, and we decided to raise our rates. And part of that was we actually rebranded too. We used to be, by we, I mean my wife and I, it was just Derrick Mitchell Design LLC. And I've told this story before, but a lot of that was because we wanted the name that we knew we had access to. And then when we rebranded to Mitchell's Garage for our agency, we raised our rates too. And immediately we got more work from people who valued what we did and took us more seriously. Because again, back to that first story, when I was charging $35 an hour and everybody else was charging at least 80 or more, it was hard to take us seriously. So I'm not saying gouge people. I'm just saying give enough in your budget that you can do things with excellence, and also that you can kind of put yourself as a peer in the industry. So let me see if we've got, let me look here on feedback. All right. So, okay, there's a question from Gabriella. She says she's interested in front-end development, UI, UX design, coding, and designing is so different. Gabriella, I can't answer this question because you're just going to be my TA forever. Sorry. No, I'm just kidding. How do I market myself as a designer or as a developer who knows some design? Mainly, I would like to start freelancing, and I have no idea how to get my first gigs. I do have to market myself somehow, right? Okay, so that comes back to the first thing we said, where Oh, I have an idea of what, I'm all over the place, guys. I think my live feed might have crashed. Maybe I have got a time limit. I don't know. Anyway, so Gabriella, to answer that question, that comes back to what we were talking about where, yeah, so the way you market yourself right now, don't try to, because so, wow, this is amazing. I got to just slow way the heck down. I was thinking about, so I want to start on YouTube, right? I've got a YouTube channel, shameless plug. If you haven't seen it yet, it's youtube.com/Derrick Mitchell. I need to start doing more there. And some of the things that I've learned is now's the time to practice because nobody knows who I am yet. Like, it's not like I have 1 million followers, right? So now's the time where I can practice, refine my messaging and things like that without it being quite as public. Like things like today's live broadcast, I'm all over the place, right? But it's going to be a learning experience. I just had to dive in and do it. So for you, Gabriella, I would say the one thing is, first of all, start off by telling people what you're interested in, what you want to do. So tell your friends, tell your family, anybody who will listen, tell them what you do. I do, X, Y, and Z. Basically have an elevator pitch. So by that, what that means is if you were to ride an elevator with somebody else, you've got, 10 to 30 seconds to talk to somebody. In that 10 to 30 seconds, what would you tell them that would let them know what you do? So in the future, let's say somebody else says, "Oh, I need somebody to help me with my website." They'd be like, "Oh, well, talk to this person. I know, I know somebody who does that." So that's the very first thing I would do is just start telling everybody what you do. Even if you don't have a portfolio site right now, right? Tell everybody what you do. Excuse me. The very next thing you would do after that is build that portfolio site. And it's kind of jumping ahead a little bit. So let's see, where do I want to jump into? Actually, we're just going to go right here. I'm going to risk the crash again, but we'll see what happens. All right. So, ta-da. Okay. Getting a job, finding work. That's what we're talking about right now. And part of that is that when you're looking for work, and in this case, if you're going to be freelancing, it's a little bit different. But if you're looking for a true job, don't be scared about the job description itself. And often when you look at these, it shows that they're looking more, they'll say, "Well, I want 2 years of experience or 3 years of experience." It's more valued than education. So right now, today, you could start your timer for how much experience you have. You could say, so actually, let me come back to where you can see me here. I always tell people, here's my elevator pitch. "Hi, my name is Derrick. I'm a creative director with over a decade of experience working as a graphic designer and a web developer." I could go further and say things like, "I design websites for, X, Y, and Z type of companies," or "I focus on logo design." I could go that way, but that's my quick punch that I say, especially my videos that I record. But thinking about it, I started working on computers back like in elementary school. So technically that's experience learning how to use things like Microsoft Word. And I started Photoshop back in, let's say I was in high school. How old was I? 13, 14. I'm 34 now. What's that, 20 years? So I could say, I have nearly 20 years of experience, right? I do. That's not lying. That's when I first started. That's the experience I have. Now, granted, I only have a couple years of experience as a true, quote, creative director, but you can paint that picture and you can paint that narrative. So let me get back to Gabriella's question, make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Let's see. She asked, coding, designing is so different. How do you market yourself? So I would market yourself as a UI UX developer first. And the reason why is because if we look back at that salary guide that I had, if you look at that, that's one of the top highest skills, right? So if I flipped it the other way around and say, yeah, I'm a graphic designer with a little bit of UI UX. Well, the top end graphic designer was like what, $60,000 to $80,000 a year, versus a UI UX developer who's really, really good is over $100,000 a year. So I would for sure lean into the UI UX first, and then everything else is a bonus and something that makes you even more employable. So I hope that answers your question. Thanks for reaching out with that question, Gabriella. Let's see. And then as far as getting your first gigs, just start telling everybody you know, or maybe, if you have a club or somebody in the school who wants something, or just make it up. Make up your own task that will attract more of the work you want to get. So, all right, let me jump back into this presentation here. All right. So the next point is, okay, it's good to know design theory. Actually, I've got a really cool class about it. You should check it out. But you won't get the role if you can't execute your ideas. That comes back to the experience. It comes back to why you're here. You're learning how to do the things and do them well. So that's going to be more important than your grades for sure. A killer portfolio is the ace up your sleeve. So back to the whole thing. Nobody's ever asked me about my grades. Nobody cares, at least not in the circle I'm in now. When you're very first trying to land a true job, yeah, they're going to say, yeah, I must have a 4-year degree or whatever. But honestly, if they see your portfolio and see you're really good at your work, it doesn't really matter. So the next thing I want to get into is student questions. So we've already kind of gone over a lot of them, but let me jump back real quick. How you guys doing? Hope you're doing good. I wish I could see your comments. I got to figure this out. But one question from Elizabeth is how to stand out as a freelancer to get contracts. That's a good question. So this kind of tags in with Gabriella's question, like how do you get contracts or how do you land work, right? And everything I'm saying revolves back into that being nice to people, building your connections, just diving in, right? All those things. I would say like I said at the beginning, over 90% of the work I've done has basically dovetailed out of a previous job or a relationship. So whether somebody said, hey, Derrick can do it, or somebody said, wow, that's a really good logo, who made it? And they say, oh, well, Derrick did it. That's how I've gotten over 90% of everything I've ever done, right? And it just grew. Like every job, I got a little smarter, a little better, charged a little more, right? And so if I started in 2008, so what are we, like 11 years in right now? And I'm a product of those 11 years of trial and error. Whoops, messed it up. Oh, did better, right? Like all those, it's just a part of it. So as far as how to stand out though, as a freelancer, I would say absolutely number one is the work you make. You're only as good as your weakest link. So don't show your crap. If it's crappy, if it's not a good look, if it's all you have, it's a work in progress. Great. Wear that with pride. However, as you get better, pull down some of your old stuff. I would never show some of my older stuff, but you know what? I also have to give that honor and respect, knowing that's what helped me get where I am, right? It was a stepping stone. It was progress. It was growth. So as far as standing out, the other thing that will help you stand out when you're trying to get contracts, if you're on a site like Fiverr or Upwork or 99 Designs or whatever, you can post like templated response, right? So you can just say the same thing over and over and trying to get work and hope that by casting that net, you'll land it. But the way that we landed work, we were very, very specific with each, I forget, I'm drawing a blank. Each request for work. Oh my gosh, you guys, my brain is turning off. We, instead of just firing off a generic response, we really looked into what the client needed and responded appropriately. And clients will tell the difference. That made a huge difference for us. And then the other thing, we used to try to basically race them to the bottom, be the cheapest one there, so they picked us. Obviously, those are going to be the worst jobs to work for if they do pick you. And we started being unapologetically, if not the most expensive bid back, like second most expensive. We made it a point to answer everyone on exactly what they needed and make it competitive. But we also threw out part of like, if we were trying to go above and beyond, here's another thing we could do for you, and we would make it like way more. And part of that was people, business owners, they've got a marketing budget. They don't care how much it really costs because they've got a budget for it. By them, I mean like the actual person in that role. They're just trying to get a problem solved. If you can solve my problem, I'll pay you whatever I can to get that problem solved. So don't be afraid. Don't feel like you have to cut yourself short to get the work. Just move on to the next job, right? If you're busy now, tied up with a crappy job, if a good job comes along, you're going to be busy and you can't take that. So be picky if you can, once you get into it. I hope that answers your question, and I apologize. I'm all over the place. Let's see. Fatima asks how to stay current in this fast-paced industry. And that's a great question. I actually heard a stat from lynda.com that 30% of your knowledge needs to be relearned every 3 years. So if you've been out of it for 3, 6, 9 years, that's basically almost 100% of your knowledge needs to be replaced, right? So how do you stay current? Well, lots of reading, lots of trolling the internets, right? Paying attention to things on Instagram or Google or Pinterest or wherever, whatever inspires you, sites like Behance, just looking around you, right? Like I said, going into stores and actually just looking at packaging and what's trending and just paying attention. And that will help. That'll help you as far as see what the current trends are. Part of it is that, how do you stay current in this fast-paced industry? Literally Google that. That's a good way to just see what's trending for 2019 or 2020 or 2021. Like as the years go by, just keep a pulse on what's happening. And then back to one of our main points at the beginning was, what was it? Continue self-education outside of school. So, man, guys, I love books. I buy books all the time and I just never stop learning. I buy courses and I just pay attention to what's happening. And that's how you stay current. That's also something to be aware of. If you think you want to be a designer or UX developer, it changes all the time. At one point in my career, I wanted to be I started learning ActionScript 2.0 and then 3.0 came out. And I was basically making interactive banner ads. That was when I was interning and getting to work with companies like Nintendo and MTV and Netflix and stuff. And it was really cool. But then when the technology updated, I had to learn it all over again. And I got discouraged and I just didn't. So I don't really know it very well anymore. So that's just something that maybe might be a deterrent to you if you're not sure if this is a good fit for you. Like you're going to have to learn all the time. It just always changes. It always updates. My Bootcamp Part 1 course I launched back in 2016. And there's some videos now that are out of date because now we're in version 2019 for Photoshop. So it's a constant, evolution and constant change. And I love it. That's why it stays fresh for me and that's why I enjoy it. But if you don't like learning, I would consider another career. All right. Any other questions? Let's see. We talked about how to get your first client, how to get a job, creative block, and the business of design. So that's a question from Danielle or Daniel. Creative block. So that happens to me all the time. And I feel like something that, let me make sure my stream's still going. I feel like something that doesn't get talked about much is, as a designer, you're expected to be awesome all the time and always have that creative solution. And that's rarely me, guys. Like I rarely just like sit down and just, oh my gosh, here's a great idea. And I do it. Granted, I have an easier time now because I understand the tools. So when I do have an idea, I can pump it out faster. But as far as the actual solution, I spend a ton of time playing with things, trying different colors, different fonts, and just looking at it. And do I like it or not? Sometimes I'll make a Pinterest board. Sometimes I'll look at books. Sometimes I'll sketch stuff out and then I'll go play with my kids and then come back to it because I'm just not feeling it. I really struggle with a true 9-to-5 job because I don't work well from 9 to 5. I work well before 9 a.m. and then kind of a little bit in the afternoon. And then I just tank mentally at 3 p.m. every day. I got nothing left. So I'll go work out or I'll go ride my bike or I'll go skiing or whatever. But then like after 5 p.m. for whatever reason, I feel like no client or no boss can reasonably expect me to get right back to them after 5. And all of a sudden I have all these ideas, right? But that's premium family time. So whether I have to write it down in a notebook or what, as far as the ideas, but after like 7 to 10 p.m. is like my super creative time. So I know what's good for me and I just plan my day accordingly to be as effective as possible. So that's how I deal with creative block is I don't try to force it. I just keep a notebook and I try to keep my ideas and, you never know when they're going to come. So that's kind of how I deal with it. When I truly am like blocked and have nothing, I'll look at books. Again, I'll look at Pinterest and Instagram. Maybe I'll show my wife or a friend. I'll say, hey, here's what I'm working on. I think it sucks. What do you think? And so they'll give me feedback on like, yeah, that's terrible. Or no, it looks really good. And, go ahead and roll with it. So that's a good benchmark is to have people in your life. Again, huge shout out to our community. Post your designs and let us give you some feedback on where things are at. So it's tough when you work in a vacuum, especially as a freelancer by yourself and being isolated. That can be really tough. So I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover today. I think, let me double check. I I think I've got one more thing for you. Yeah, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Good quote from Zig Ziglar. So good, I'm going to say it one more time. You don't have to be great to start. Guys, when I started, I was awful. There's no way that you're worse than I was. And if I did it, you can 100% do it. So, but you have to start. You have to start to be great. So even if you're running out of time, even if you feel like you don't have time to learn everything that we have right now, don't worry about it. Just keep going, keep chipping away. You're never going to know everything. I don't know everything. There's no way you can know everything, but you know what? I know what I need to as I need to do it, right? There's Google, there's the support groups like what we have. There's all kinds of ways. So just dive in, begin, start today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm just going to take one more second to double check and see if there's anything else before I totally sign off. Make sure you post any other questions you have. You can post in the feed below. You can post in the membership area. You can also fill out that questionnaire that I sent out, and it should be in the announcements where you can kind of give me some feedback as to what you want to learn next. And that's it, guys. Just want to say thanks again for those of you who are just trying this membership area, kicking the tires. I'm glad you're here, and thank you so much for your support. I'm excited to support you in this and to serve you however I can. So definitely take me up on that. Hit me up with your questions. What else we got? Check out my YouTube channel if you haven't already. youtube.com/Derrick Mitchell. Like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. What else we got? I'm on Instagram at dmitchelldesign. And I think that's about it for today, guys. So I'm around. Hit me up if you have questions. Super stoked to get that new logo design course out. That's in the works. It's coming. And in the meantime, today as I record this, it's Friday. So I hope you have an awesome weekend. Make sure you get outside and play a little bit. If you can, definitely check out the content in the membership. And I will see you next time. All right. Thanks, guys.